How to play Blood Death Knight for Mythic Plus in 90 seconds or less. Starting off with talents, you want your class tree to look like this and your spec tree to look like this, with an optional swap to these talents if you feel like you need some more defensiveness. For hero talents, you're going to go with this. Sand Lane is easier and more fun, just trust me here. Your stat priority is going to be haste and verse super high, with crit and mastery being a little bit less important. But how do we play? Before we get into the rotation, make sure that your standing in your Death and Decay as close to 100% of the time as possible. Not only does standing in it cause your Heart Strike to go from hitting 2 targets to 5, but it also massively increases your throughput and damage reduction with talents such as Sanguine Ground and Shattering Bone in the Blood Tree and Blood Soak Ground in the Sand Lane Tree. Death and Decay is not a cooldown and should be used whenever possible, even in single target situations. Tank rotations are never set in stone, but luckily for us Blood DKs, Death Strike will be your top damage and your top healing spell at the end of most keys. Treat it as such and use it whenever possible. Heart Strike is your main builder, hitting up to 5 targets and slowing them by 20%. Blood Boil is your spammable AoE threat generator and plague applicator. Press it twice at the beginning of pulls and then keep it on cooldown as much as you can. Marrow Rend, Death's Caress, and Dancing Rune Weapon all apply Bone Shield stacks to you. Use Bone Shield as a resource for Tombstone and Bone Storm, and remember that the stacks apply modifiers to spells but do not change the amount of armor that you get. 1 stack of Bone Shield is just as much armor as 12. Also remember that you want to cycle through Bone Shield charges as much as possible to incur the cooldown reduction for Dancing Rune Weapon. Without getting into the numbers, here are your major cooldowns. For Blood DK, most of our defensive cooldowns are also offensive cooldowns. In order to keep the video short, I can't explain in depth what they all do. We need more tank players and you have things to do. And that's why you need to know